So I've mentioned the recoloring a couple of times now, and we saw some pages as we were flipping through, but let's take a closer look and compare the recoloring of the Absolute Edition to the original colors from the original issues. Looking at the first cover, you can't really see that much different, but that changes as soon as you turn to the first page. You can immediately see that the original colors have the blood looking a little purplish or pink, whereas over here you've got a distinct red. You do, however, have this gradiency in the blood, so the closer it gets to the water, the more pink it is and the redder it is towards the button and the gutter, which wasn't the case in the original colors at all, which was one solid color. You see this continue in the second page where you've got the same color patterns, but you can see that they're being reinforced in the Absolute recoloring. Notably, the carpet over here is green, continuing this green combination of these three panels, where over here it was brown and didn't really have that triangular effect, the one that balances out this red-pink triangular effect. Again, you can see the differences in the more pinkish looking original to the outright bloody red of the recoloring. This is most obvious in the iconic scene where the comedian is being thrown out of the window, where the shades between his body and the shards of glass are a lot closer in the recoloring than they were in the original. What the recoloring is actually doing is making things a little more subtle from the more garish and contrast heavy colors that we had in the original, without losing the fact that that contrast is there for a reason, and the fact that the primary or the complementary or other color combinations exist for a reason. So most of the time it's subtle things like making the yellow of the grappling hook less bright, but it also helps rectify certain production issues and problems, like the splotches within black around dark colors that the original printing had, which are now seamless in the Absolute Edition. In the scene where Rorschach checks the closet, the recoloring has actually corrected some problems where you had this yellow be sort of a constant on the inside and the outside, not really too distinct, which may have confused some people, but with the orange standing for one side of the cupboard and the yellow standing for the other angle, there is no such confusion in the Absolute Edition. However, the art and the action over here to me is so clear that I don't necessarily think of this as a major correction or a major fault in the original in the first place. The main thing that the recoloring is doing is making things more subtle and more suited to modern sensibilities. But if you look at something like this, when Rorschach walks out of Dan's basement and the lights above are red and his silhouette is red in the same way, I can't help but think that this is really good compared to the new one, which has the lights be a little orange and Rorschach in purple. That's just a personal preference. And over here we can see how even a subtle shift in colors makes a difference to how scenes appear, how lurid they may appear to you, or how seedy. And while I completely understand how this updates and modernizes it for readers of today, and is objectively speaking pleasing to look at in one way, I can't help but feel that this neon-soaked underground divey bar is a lot more menacing and a lot more ugly in the original colors than over here in the recoloring. That's not to say that the recoloring isn't doing a very important job. I mean, the original has several problems in its printing as well, like over here where Laurie's shirt suddenly becomes pink instead of the white that it used to be, and Sally's robe is white instead of being the pink that it's supposed to be. The recoloring definitely fixes all of those kinds of issues, creating a consistency that is sometimes let down by the printing problems or the restraints on the original. Due to the unique coloring style as well as the problems in 1980s printing, it's sometimes in the original difficult to tell what is day and what is night. All of it seems soaked in some sort of artificial light anyway. The recoloring does help clarify such things. Again though, it's really your preference on whether you like this having the kind of hallucinatory feel that it does, or this which maintains the chaos and maintains the contrast but does make it more quote-unquote sensible in certain ways. The two 9-panel grid pages in which the comedian and Moloch are talking in the original stands out very clearly with this neon blinking on and off sequence, creating that 4 blue, 5 yellow pattern on both pages more or less. And while the recoloring maintains it, it does add a level of polish that, again, I feel personally takes away from the nightmarish feeling of the original. This is not to say that this is not beautiful and gorgeous to look at, and you're not going to lose anything in the pattern or in the coding of the page. It's just that I love how seedy this feels. But having said that, I've never been able to decide whether I truly love this pinkish sort of hue of the original more than the blood and rose red of the recoloring. And that's the way it goes. I have a tough time deciding if I actually prefer one to the other. I love the Absolute Edition's cleanliness and approach to highlighting the story by making things less obtrusive, by making things more subtle. But I also love the really down and dirty feeling that the raw colors of the original series had. The original colors are going to become harder to find. After the Absolute Edition, all of the trade collections also adopted the recolored pages. So only if you have the original issues or the earlier trade paperback collections will you be able to see the original colors. I don't think you lose out on anything at all, no matter which way you go. I don't have a preference. I like certain things over here, I like certain things over here, and I'm very happy that I don't need to choose one over the other. And that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please leave comments and questions below and let me know what you think and which one you prefer if you have a preference. Thanks for watching.